Hey everybody, welcome back to Drug Talk. As always, I'm your host, Garrett Campbell. Today I want to share with you my experience or my history with substance abuse, namely a cannabis addiction. The reason I'm making this video is because I kind of feel like it links to my other videos that I've made talking about bipolar disorder, in that my behavior in the past may have been a contributing factor to my development of bipolar disorder. So my first experience with cannabis came when I was 13 years old, after my mother had just passed away, and I originally started using it for the recreational purposes of just having fun with friends, but I noticed quickly after using it for the first time that it kind of made me feel better, not better about the loss of my mother, but it made me kind of escape some of the emotions that I was feeling from that loss. Kind of the pain would go away. I would be more focused on having fun, laughing with friends, something that I wasn't able to do prior to using cannabis since the death of my mother. In the beginning, it would just be something that I would do recreationally with friends on the weekends just to have fun. But over time, as I got older, I would start to use cannabis more often on my own, by myself, to kind of escape different difficult situations I would be going through in life at that time. So cannabis really became a crutch for me, so that anytime I was dealing with something difficult, I could use cannabis to kind of escape the mindset or the thought patterns that I was having about the difficult situation that I was experiencing. There were many different people throughout my life that came to me about my cannabis use and tried to get me to stop using it. But when I was young and naive, I just thought to myself, I'm still getting high 90 grades in school. I'm still star of the basketball team. When I got into the military, I was top athlete at basic training. So all these different things that would happen in my life kind of let me trick myself into thinking that it was okay to abuse this substance just because I was still doing well in different avenues of my life. I talk to my psychologist about this a lot in our bi-weekly appointments, and she explains it to me in that I used cannabis back when I was young to suppress the emotions that I was dealing with and fighting with, struggling with the loss of my mother. And now I kind of trained myself that anytime something difficult would arise, I would suppress the emotions once again with cannabis. It's actually interesting because ever since stopping using cannabis, just over a year and a half ago now, I've kind of some of those emotions from the past have kind of resurfaced, and I've been having conversations with my psychologist about those thoughts and emotions. You would think that me, as an educated person, especially in the field of medications and illnesses such as bipolar disorder, after being diagnosed with bipolar disorder about 6 years ago, you would think that I would stop using cannabis knowing that it can be a contributing factor to a manic episode. But the problem with me was that after getting diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I would go through bouts of depression as it's part of the illness. And again, I would go back to doing what did when I was young and use cannabis as a way to get out of that depression. So I would be treating myself with cannabis rather than with antidepressants like I am now. And then, of course, the cannabis would make me feel good when I was going through those bouts of depression. So I would smoke more cannabis, and then that would push me into the manic episode, in which I've had 5 now. So obviously, it is unfortunate that cannabis was most likely a contributing factor in my diagnosis of bipolar disorder. But it's kind of a double-edged sword here in that bipolar was the reason I ended up stopping cannabis in the end. See, after my 5th episode, I kind of had a moment where I kind of felt like enough is enough. I didn't want to do this anymore. I didn't want to be in the hospital for 30 days anymore, not getting paid from my employer for that time, the embarrassment that I would feel from being treated for a manic episode, or after my behavior, some embarrassment with that as well. So I kind of had a moment where during my 5th manic episode, really the straw that broke the camel's back was during that last episode. There was a situation where I thought that I thought that I was the creator of the universe, thought that I was God, again, in the psychosis of mania. And I stared into the sun for about 5 seconds and caused permanent eye damage in my eye. And just after I got out of the hospital, after receiving treatment, just thinking about the fact that I could do something that permanent to myself, physically damage myself like that, it kind of scared me in the sense that what else could I do? If I was willing to stare at the sun, think that I'm the creator of the universe, what else could happen in the next manic episode? So there was a lot of fear that was instilled in me after that last episode. And I kind of had a moment where enough is enough, and I told my psychiatrist at the time that I promised him I will never smoke cannabis again, and I really promised myself as well that I would never smoke cannabis again. I held true to that, and since that last episode, since stopping cannabis, I haven't had an episode since. So it looks like, for me personally, cannabis is definitely a contributing factor to having manic episodes. I am very proud of myself, and I'm happy that I made the decision to stop smoking cannabis. But I do know that it was an addiction because even now, from October to about March, when I experienced bouts of depression, like this year, I did have a bad bout of depression. I do feel the urge to just drive to the distributor, buy some cannabis, use it and just make myself feel better, pull myself out of that depression. Because as you know, if you've watched some of my videos on antidepressants, it takes some time, up to maybe 30 days, even 2 months, to get maximum benefit from an antidepressant. So when I'm sitting there and I get prescribed an antidepressant and I know it's going to take months, and I also know I could just smoke cannabis and feel better in that moment, it's hard not to kind of fall into that trap. But I know what can happen down the road if I keep smoking cannabis too frequently, that it could turn into another manic episode. So it's easy for me to kind of just deal with the pain for a little bit until the antidepressant kicks in. Another reason that I kind of know it was an addiction for me and not just something that I enjoyed doing was over the years in the past, I might tell myself it's time to stop smoking cannabis, I'm smoking it too much, and it's time to give it up. And then after a few months, I may say to myself, you know what, I'll just smoke it once a month, maybe 2 times a month. But that would quickly turn into 2 times a week and then daily use. So I know that I know now that I can't really trust myself, even if I did want to experiment with it here and there. I just know that's not a good idea for me because I don't really have that self-control with it to just stick to once a month or twice a month or anything like that. I think it would slowly cascade into smoking it daily. And then, like I said before, that could turn into another manic episode, which is the last thing that I want. I do not want to end up in the hospital again due to mania. Well, I guess that's all I really have to say today about my history with substance abuse, namely a cannabis addiction. Like I said before in my bipolar videos, I really like making these videos just to better connect with you and show that I'm not just a pharmacist using medications, but I do use medications myself and also suffer from illness, even substance abuse or addiction, if you consider that an illness yourself. If you've struggled with anything in the line of addiction, don't be scared to write a comment in the comment section. I'd love to read it and respond back to you, maybe get a dialogue going. I will put this in the mental health playlist. And if you'd like to support the channel, remember you can like the videos, share the videos, or most importantly, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you'd like to get to know me better outside of the YouTube channel, you can connect with me on Instagram. My link is in the channel in the video description as well. All right, that's it for today. Take care.